Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Straight On Till Morning. Interlude, A Dog's View. Some readers might well be curious. Was Nana upset at being left home from these adventures? School, Neverland, doings with pirates and pixies? No, she was a dog with dog dreams. Few things made her happier than the stories in her own head when she was hunkered down in front of a warm fire with a full belly. She would have appreciated some gratitude, however, for time well served. Perhaps a nice juicy steak on her birthday and Christmas. Maybe the occasional Tuesday as a welcome surprise. Unexpected help. I will not. Wendy sat with her arms crossed and legs primly together. Before her was a washtub full of hot salt water, suds, pirate clothes, and stink. A half-dozen half-naked pirates glowered around her, arms also crossed, though some were holding knives in their fists. "But you're the mother of the ship now," one said, screaming Byron, whose jacket she had patched. It was only the second or third day, and she had already learned most of their names. "The washing's your responsibility." "Absolutely not," Wendy snapped, glaring at him so viciously he almost fell backward. "I already take issue with the whole idea of being your mother, but being your scullery maid is entirely out of the question. Go find someone else to do your dirty work. My mother's beautiful hands never scrubbed a nasty pair of pirate unmentionables, and neither shall mine." The men looked at each other in surprise. Apparently, this was an idea new to them. Mothers always did the wash, didn't they? But perhaps they hadn't had much experience with the type. One leaned forward with his long knife and actually growled. "Oh, cut me if you will, Ziggy," Wendy said, rolling her eyes. "That's proper behavior toward a mother. Let's ignore that not a single one of you has presented me with a posy, or a badly done but affectionate drawing, or a pretty shell you found, or even a..." She was about to say kiss, but thought better of it at the last moment. "Even the tiniest token of your appreciation. And I sang you that lullaby last night." The pirates looked, if not exactly chagrined, then at least a little thoughtful. "We're new at this," one with green teeth said. T. Jerome Newton. "Ain't never had a mother before. Don't know the rules." Another, Jareth, cleared his throat. "Well, if we're not going to do the wash, then just maybe set a nice table tonight then? With folded napkins, maybe?" "We'll see," Wendy said levelly. The pirates shuffled off, muttering chastise. Wendy collapsed. It had taken all her will to remain indignant and cold. Their knives were actually absolutely terrifying. The pirates' behavior was violent and insane. "And here I am negotiating with them," she said, with a disgusted sigh, kicking the wash tub. "They've made me their slave, and I'm telling them that I won't do the very worst of the work." She sighed and picked up the finished clean clothes, folding them, dropped them in the basket, trying to remember which thing belonged to which pirate so she could place them on the proper hammock and they wouldn't just tear into the pile, throwing things all over the place as was their usual custom. What a mess. She escaped her boring, dismal life in London, only to enter a more dismal one in Neverland. Where were the wishes? Where were the palm trees? Where were the adventures on savage shores? What to do? She could see one terrible possible future, one in which she remained with the pirates and became a little hard like them, praising some and castigating others, wrapping them all around until they did her bidding like a good little boys. Maybe even to the point of rebelling against their father, Hook. There was, of course, far more immediate and pressing concern than her eventual career aboard the Jolly Roger, the fate of Neverland itself. Hook had definitely implied its and Peter's destruction at his hands. Somehow she didn't believe that rather permanent meant the decision of never docking on its shores again. Despite some sly questioning of this newly friendly crew, Wendy received no answers about Hook's plans. The pirates didn't know, nor did they care. They were sick of Neverland, eager to get on with their privateering on other seas. That was all they cared about. which of course begged the question, what other seas? She never really thought about the rest of the world, beyond the island where Peter and the Lost Boys lived. And somehow, her handing Peter Shadow to Hook helped him with his plot. She had to escape, to help, to find Peter Pan. There was nothing else for it. But how? As she carried the basket of clothes toward the hatch that led below decks to the crew's quarters, Hook swooshed by her, all ruffles and coat and double cigars in their fancy golden holder. "How goes it this morning with you, Mother?" he asked with a sly smile on his face. Wendy felt a twist of violence in her stomach. It had been bad enough when John and Michael joked about how rarely they saw her mother and how Wendy had taken her place. It was, of course, worse now when these murderous hooligans called her mother. There was something especially nasty about Hook's use of the word. It was a quarrel some old husband might say to his old wife. Not that there was anything untoward about it. The captain wasn't at all suggesting anything inappropriate in their relationship. It was just wrong. "This morning is going terribly, Captain Hook. I will organize, fold, and mend the crew's clean clothes, but I will not do the washing. I have my limits," she said firmly. "Oh, whatever. We can all let done ashore if we must," he said, rolling his eyes as if she was silly for even mentioning it. "And how are you doing this morning?" Wendy asked coldly. "Or shall I ask, what are you doing?" "Just the usual captain-y, pirate-y things," he said, whistling in the air, trying to figure out the proper route to take. "With a little spectral help, we shall set sail." Wendy didn't like the sound of that at all. "A little spectral help? You mean Peter Pan's shadow? What are you doing with it?" "Miss Darling," he leaned forward and grinned eerily in her face. "If you were so worried about his fate, perhaps you shouldn't have traded it in a deal with the devil." And with that, he spun off and strode off, obviously pleased with his answer. Wendy felt what remaining energy she had drained out through her feet, slide among the planks, and spill overboard. She sank to the deck, resting her head on the pile of clothes, and began to weep. What had she done? She knew it was wrong. She knew it. No good would ever come of trading Pan's shadow. Any arrangement made with Hook and his pirates would never end happily. She would know that in her heart, and she still would have done it, desperate to escape to Neverland. And now it seemed like all of Neverland was going to pay for her rash decision. "Pirate's life got you down, love." Wendy looked up, wiping her tears. Standing in there was a swayed-back, repulsantly self-assured slouch was Zane. "I thought I was coming here to have adventure," she said disgustedly, wiping her tears. "Not to be a slave to pirates for the rest of my life while Neverland is utterly destroyed. I have to get out of here. So many of us look for adventure and wind up as slaves one way or another," the pirate said philosophically. "When you're young, you think the world will make room for you and what you want. And then you find the world of adults is even more limiting than the world of children, with no room for adventure, much less your own thoughts." Wendy regarded the pirate curiously. This was the most thoughtful, intelligent thing she had ever heard on the ship so far. He laughed quietly at the look on her face. "I'll get ye out," he promised. "Really?" Wendy asked, surprised out of her usual politeness. "But why?" "Because some of us always have to escape, to hide in plain sight, to find out the world, to get the adventure we deserve. You'd think a pirate would be the freest person in the world, wouldn't you? But even here, there are other people's rules to follow, and men don't like what's different. At least not at first. Now do they?" "No, I suppose not," Wendy said thoughtfully. She wasn't sure what she was driving at. Maybe he didn't want to be a pirate? Maybe he wanted else altogether. What if she and the boys, just by matching it, had cast him out of the role of buccaneer forever? What if he wanted to be a shepherd or even a banker? The poignancy of his words struck her heart. "I might be trapped in the part I play. Maybe it's because of that, but I can't stand to see others what are constrained against their will too. And maybe a good deed what goes against my litany of skullduggery. But enough of ruminating. This captain's involved in that shadow nonsense, and this crew is getting reckless. He promised we're soon back to our villainous ways, so when the tide turns on the morrow, we'll be off. Or there'll be mutiny, mark my words. You'll have to be out by tonight, just before dawn. I can't swim, Wendy said, looking doubtfully at the water below. At least not very well. There's a one-man dinghy for repairs and whatnot I'll toss over the side, but you'll have to slide down the rope to it, and I don't think I can spare more than one paddle without raising suspicion. If you care enough about your freedom, you'll figure out how to use it right. I feel like that is some sort of metaphor you applied to your own life, sir. The pirate laughed again, and not at all like a villain. Just make sure you're up before the Southern Cross fades from view, and meet me on the stern side. Not that I greatly appreciate all this, Wendy said politely, but what is to keep Hook from turning around to look for me? If I manage to figure out how to row with a paddle, I dare say it's unlikely I could be on the beach outrunning a crew of angry pirates bereft of their mother. Zane gave a thin smile. Oh, don't you worry about that, love. I'll just say, what's that? Anyone hear the ticking of a clock? And Hook will have us speeding us out of here like the old dead croc is on his pants. Or he'll say it's the croc. But between you and me, I think it's just the sound of time passing that puts the fear of the devil in him. I think he knows somewhere in that musty head of his that his old companion is long gone. Anyway, our beloved captain is mostly engaged in other pursuits. You're a pretty thing, and useful, but a thin detail in the calamitous fable of our old captain's life. He's after bigger prey. Bigger prey? Isn't it obvious? He's using the shadow to somehow find and get Peter Pan. I thought we were done with that nonsense years ago, Zane said, sighing. But what about his first mate, Mr. Smee? Sounds like he's very loyal to Captain Hook. Won't he see through your ruse and try to persuade Hook to chase me? At this point, the pirate just laughed and kept laughing, wandering away and slapping his knee. It wasn't pleasant laughter, and despite the rescue she was being offered, it left Wendy uneasy. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. So, see you later.